In February of 2024, we're going to experience a powerful and rare event. We're going to see Chiron, the wounded healer centaur asteroid body, connect with the north node of fate in the sign of Aries. And we haven't seen this kind of combination since 1820, 1975, and 1969. This is going to bring, I believe, perhaps an end to some world global conflicts in a more definitive and conclusive way. We'll be talking about what this archetype might mean for you based on your sun, moon, and rising sign. So I want you to listen for that portion of today's recording as well. This is a part of my 2024 Big Transits playlist. And I'm having a special guest today, which is Candace Marie of Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. She'll be diving into that with me, even maybe drawing a tarot card for each sign. So stay tuned. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Lori Lothian, and I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac, whole sign houses. I love the fixed stars and minor asteroids. I'm helping you to time your best life using the navigational tool of astrology. And I'm really excited about this one because there's so much discovery I've done as I've dived deeply into this particular part of our sky coming up in February of 24. So I'm going to let Candace Marie in. And before I do, if you want to take my class, Chiron, the Key to Purpose, it's free. I'm just giving it away as a part of this video. If you want to join my Patreon community, you also already get that for free. And another class that I'm teaching, Chiron for Life Cycles, in the end of January. Check it all in my description box below under the More button and see if that's something that at all interests you, as well as my 2024 All Signs videos are now for sale in the description box below. All right, let's bring in Candace Marie of Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology right now. Welcome, Candace Marie of Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. It's so great to have you back to my channel. My people loved you last time when we did a video together, and I'm so grateful you have the time to share your gifts with my people again.
Well, thanks for having me. Happy New Year.
You as well. And we are recording for everybody on December 27th. Those things we say are time locked on the 27th of December. Only astrologers get together at this time of year to do stuff. So we're going to talk today a little bit about Chiron being a part of a longer cycle without going into too much history. We really want to focus, I think, in our earlier conversation about how this is an opportunity for healing, healing the Chironic wound, and how Chiron himself opens up the door to that in a very unique way with that North Node in Aries this time around. So tell us a little bit about some of your thoughts in general about Chiron, Aries North Node as we approach February of 2024.
Well, I have to say, I kind of like chuckled when we set this date to talk about this, and then we decided on this topic. I currently have Chiron transiting my moon with the North Node in Aries in my seventh house. So it's interesting to have a conversation with another astrologer, another person about Chiron and like relating to it emotionally. So it seems appropriate. So thank you for that. Yeah, I feel like this is a really important time for people to be really showing up and doing the work. I know you hear a lot of that when you hear about like coaches and, you know, astrologers and other healers, but wherever the North Node goes is where we are all collectively being directed. So we have to be actively working with this energy really through, you know, 2025. And it's a really important moment where I think we have the ability to shift things on a very big level if everybody is doing their own independent healing work, and it will create a ripple effect for the masses.
You know, and I agree with that. I mean, Chiron in ancient history was very noble. Like he was the mentor for the warriors Achilles and Hercules, and also the mentor for the healers. And there's an archetype of him being the civilized centaur, you know, who was erudite and was actually wore clothes, right? But when we talk about him being an Aries for the world, which he's been in since 2018 and leaves in 2027, we're really talking about what he wants to do individually, to do with Aries themes: independence, self-direction, self-determination, courage, daring, and also what he might want us to do collectively when it comes to themes that Aries is prevalent over, such as war and conflict.
Well, I think it gives us the opportunity to choose which direction we're going to go in. And I think, especially, I'm very fascinated by the conjunction chart because we see Mars as a part of a stellium in Aquarius, where Mars, Venus, and Pluto are in conjunction. And I think really what it talks a lot about, you know, whether this is connected to also stuff that's going on in Pisces, but where we can actually isolate ourselves. There can be so many issues with division and so much conflict that separation in itself is what can cause some of the wounds, right?
Yeah. Oh gosh, absolutely. Yeah. And Mars is the god of separation. He divides, and separates, whereas Venus tends to unite and bring together. And here, I just thought since you said it, I throw it up for the world here that we see Mars, yeah, co-joined with Pluto over here in Aquarius, which is giving it a whole different flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And then,
Venus, we can't see it, but Venus is there as well. So it's interesting to
oh,
see again from a
did I leave poor Venus out? Oh my goodness. Let's
That's
put her
okay,
back
but
in. Oh yeah,
I
there we
think
go.
that's so significant because you have both the South Node ruler and the North Node ruler co-present in conjunction to Pluto. So there is positive or harmonious aspects, I guess, kind of going on. I mean, I guess the conjunction is one of the strongest aspects you can see, but almost like this opportunity for purging and purification on a collective level, which is setting a lot of individuals free, right?
Yeah. Wow. Well, and when you put Pluto and Venus together, you can actually on the non-shadow side, right? Because they can be like toxic love, obsessive love. But when you put them together, it's like higher love, deeper love,
Right.
more profound love connected to whatever Mars is trying to get that North Node Chiron to do together as a dispositor of what the sky is showing us. I kind of just splattered some asteroids out to see who was up there. And I just find it fascinating that we also have Eros, which is the son of Venus at 18 degrees during the time of this conjunction. And next to Eros is Proserpina, which is Persephone, who was abducted into the underworld by good old Pluto over here.
Yeah.
And then over here is Volcano, the husband of Venus. Now, Volcano or Hephaestos, the husband of Venus, and her son are hanging out with Chiron North Node during this period of time. And there's such a beautiful flow between the signs here of Aquarius and Aries, because that sextile is the nature of Venus, her very own self. Very
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's also interesting to see there's some mutual reception going on also between Uranus and Venus, because we've got Uranus in a Venus sign and Venus in a Uranian sign. And all of this Aquarius energy in the stellium is basically more or less coming into like the superior square with Uranus. So it's also trying to complete something. It's trying to complete a cycle. And Taurus can be about security, self-esteem, resources. But I think really it's going to be where we all have the opportunity collectively to come together in this Aquarian way to better support each other on an individual level. And we'll see more of this play out as obviously we get into the spring when we see the Mercury retrograde and then a very Chiron kind of flavored solar eclipse. It's a lot about healing the relationship to ourselves. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree with that because self is that Aries archetype. And, when we look at this, what we see going on here in February, knowing, as you said, there's an applying energy of Mars and Venus to Uranus, who's sitting there waiting for Jupiter on April 21st to catch up. It almost is like seasoning the event. You know what I mean? Giving it this flavor that we will experience as we get closer and closer to it.
Yeah.
Interesting corner of sky over here for sure. This whole Aquarium stellium as Aquarius rising. I'm not sure if I'm looking forward to it or not. We'll see how that feels.
Well, at least it's in your first house. I mean, I think the positive in all of this is that whatever is kind of playing out. I mean, I kind of look at like the fourth quadrant of the sky as things that are wrapping up, right? So as we're looking at things going through Aquarius and then Pisces, it really starts to show us that in the astrological new year, when we get into Aries season, there's just so much opportunity for starting over. And we'll see that when we look at the transits as we go. But I've been telling my clients really all month long, like, listen, if you're somebody who subscribes to New Year's resolutions, all the more power to you. But really, astrologically, we're in the dead of winter when the new year kind of begins, and that really this is a time of closing out cycles. This is a time of completing things. And as we get into like March and April, we'll start to see that there is so much potent energy for starting new. So it's really great for New Year's resolutions, even in the middle of spring. So if you don't get a jump start on that in the next like week or two, there's plenty of opportunities, and like the universe will reroute you. And I think for a lot of us, it's really, really significant for healing professions, coaches, trainers, people who are involved in, physical health, and wellness. I think that this is going to be a time where a lot of people are going to be either looking for these types of individuals to help them on their healing journey, or they're going to be initiating and kind of coming into that on their own. When I think of like Chiron in Aries, I think of like shamanic work, especially if we're seeing anything going on with Pluto. So I could definitely see a lot of people turning to that and really embracing like that inner masculine energy, because it's a lot of masculine energy in the sky. If we're seeing Mars in a masculine air sign, we're seeing aspects to the North Node. And the Chiron conjunction, I mean, really, we're feeling it now. I work with about a 2 to 3 degree orb. I know some astrologers use closer to 10, but the conjunction itself won't be until February 19th, 2024, but we'll see it all the way through the 26th. So obviously, that whole time we're going to be kind of watching and seeing what's going on. And then there will be reactivation points that will come several times throughout this year, as we see that 16 degrees get reactivated several times.
Absolutely. And then we also are going to go through that eclipse at 19 Aries on April the 8th, which is going to be in the orb of that 16, obviously. So it's almost like it takes that hot pocket of sky and it says, well, we're going to work with this for a year at least, everyone. We have a total solar eclipse. We're going to grab this chunk of Chiron North Node story, and we're going to take it to the next level. It's not just going to be, even though it's a synodic cycle that is pretty rare. As I said, 1969 was the last one. And I'm not going to do the world history here because that's another video, guys, but that was really the end of the Vietnam War. So Chiron can be that noble warrior, noble mentor of the ancient heroes of the world. And so there may be silver linings here, but I do think that it's such an intense time with a Mercury retrograde, in April up there with the Cazimi, with the sun, with an eclipse up there, that this kind of Chiron North Node energy is pretty jam-packed with a cast of characters trying to chime in.
Well, I mean, I think it's gonna be interesting. I mean, to say the least. I think that what'll be probably even more interesting is as we see Mars come into Aries and make contacts with these degrees, and then also continue to unfold as we get into, I think, closer to the summertime as Mars contacts Uranus. Because remember, Mars is the dispositor of Chiron, right? As is the North Node. So not only are we seeing this conjunction play out in February, but we're watching Mars really all the way until 2025, because it's the North Node ruler, but because it's also in aspect to Chiron. So we're going to continue to see this healing play out in a couple different areas. So if you're somebody who's like tracking your transits and you want to know what's going on and how to best do your Chiron work, I would be actually watching Mars, and you'll see whatever house Mars is in, it's activating things revolving around that. It's as somebody who's been having a moon, and I've been in my Chiron square right now as well. It's been very, very difficult, but also I see kind of like the silver linings. And I think maybe that's what's so amazing about Chiron is that so much of this is about showing up and doing your own work, and that in a way can be the medicine. Yeah. And that flavor also of, maybe Mars going through, Pisces is the spiritual work, and then Aries is kind of like that reemergence. I think everybody's going to have something to share in the midst of the retrograde in Aries about where they, maybe could be doing a little bit better, or maybe they could be sharing healing, remedies, or they could be sharing their personal stories. And it can really help all of us start to kind of shift, I think, as a collective, so it's just, the energy is just so loud in 2024. There's so many things to look at,
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Well, we were talking earlier about Chiron's archetypes, and I did do a little Chiron webinar on this called Chiron, the Key to Purpose. And so I'm just going to whip over there for a second, and I want to make sure you can share your screen if you want to share anything either. But I just thought it'd be kind of nice to go into that, just the basics of the Chironic archetype so people understand exactly what it's all about. This is a longer slideshow, but I'm going to just pull up some of the simple delineations of it. And let me make it big. Just to say, Chiron was discovered at 3 Taurus, but Sabian rounded up on the discovery chart in 1977. And I loved this rainbow pot of gold, the rainbow's pot of gold is the Sabian on the discovery chart. And even to the point where Barbara Hand Clout named her book, Chiron, the Rainbow Bridge between the inner and outer planets, meaning that it literally is orbiting between Saturn and the outer planets and therefore is making a bridge energetically. And so I just kind of found that energy of the synchronicity, or whether she knew that when she titled her book, really a fascinating piece of story. And there were these cool discovery stars with that placement. I mean, the stars don't move; they're there, and this is where the discovery happened. And I thought that the star itself, I've never heard of this one. I dug it up. Mesothem, a star of Aries, shrewd, loyal, royal advisor, shrewd royal advisor. And you already said coaches, guides, mentors, and healers. And there's a lot about the chironic impulse is to mentor and guide. So the star also reflects that energy. And also the quiet advisor. I love that. And then the fixed star calf, which is super active now, where Jupiter at 5 degrees of Taurus is going direct on December 31st, 31st. And this is also very powerful, I think, because it's a feminine queen, the enthroned queen Cassiopeia, but it's also about that yearning for the good to be good and the good to do good. And something about it makes me wonder, just because Chiron was discovered with this sort of imbuement, that he's always going to be yearning for the good to do and be good, and also he's emboldened to be that good, quiet advisor, the shrewd advisor. And so in our lives, we can do that for others or our very own self. And he has 3 wounds, guys, and I'm going to stop here. His mother rejected him, basically, because he was conceived by rape. So he's got a core emotional wound about the matrilineal rejection, or mother wound, you could call it. And you can take mother matter or mother materia or mother home base earth if you want, and say that there's elements of that in his woundedness. And then he was rejected by all his other centaur peers. Poor guy. He would have been like in the out group in high school, he would be like sitting alone at the cafeteria, no one wanting to hang out with him. And that's because he was the erudite, dressed, and, civilized centaur, where the other centaurs were out there having randy, sex all the time. And just they were known for debauchery and wild behavior, like wild horses, I guess. And then, of course, his real wound that we all know about was physical. So he's got a wound of rejection, a wound of abandonment by his mom. And then he's got a wound of his, foot being struck by Hercules' arrow in a friendly fire accident. Who was his disciple, or with whom he had mentored, and not being able to heal the painful wound. And he's immortal, so he can't get out of the pain. Like, he's stuck with the pain. But the cool part of the story is that he ends up sacrificing himself. Zeus gives him an exit card from life in order to save Prometheus. And Prometheus was the one who stole fire from the gods. And therefore, his last act was to help a Prometheus to continue on, because Prometheus is the one who actually was working to help humanity, let's put it that way. So at the end of his day, there's a sacrificial quality deeply embedded within what the chironic energy is. Like, what are you willing to give up? It's, in order to do something great, or where in your life can you set back your own, your own suffering, let it go, surrender it to something greater. There's so many layers to this story. Do you have any thoughts about all of that?
Well, I mean, I think I was just thinking to myself, if I remember the Chiron discovery chart, there was specific activations conjunct the galactic center, if I remember correctly. I don't remember if it was the sun or what it was, but as we speak right now, Mercury and Mars are right there. So it's in conjunction to that galactic center point. So it's interesting that it's kind of coming up in the midst of this, going deeper, digging deep, and trying to get to the core of why do we get angry? Why do we feel like we need to attack other people or cut other people off? Or why do we get mad? And how does anger or frustration or conflict or negative emotions fester in the body? And where do we have the ability to kind of like remove that, to cut that and remove that from our core essence, to be able to better heal ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's so many things that you touched on with the wounds, and that's what's amazing about this, is that Chiron wounds or Chiron transits don't always manifest as physical ailments. They can, in this case, in Aries. I mean, I think of cuts, burns, bruises,
Bumping your head,
concussions,
bumping your head.
Those are definitely themes, but they can be emotional wounds. They can be wounds revolving around rejection, and so I think it's going to get everybody talking a lot more about how emotions really do influence and affect the body. And the more that
Yes.
we're paying attention to the emotional body and aware of our auric field and all the various levels and layers of our auric field, not just how it impacts us personally, but how it impacts the others. How, when we're not doing our work to kind of clean that up or take charge of our emotions and not be blaming it on other people and start doing our work, it will create, like I said, this ripple effect where it can actually heal the masses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that a lot. Because if you think about all the cause of war, really, or conflict or individual conflict in your lives with others in your life, it's really a deep case of othering. There's something that you want to express, that makes a person so othered to who you are, right? Even in your own home life with your friends or family, when you have a conflict, it's like because you see, it is the kingdom of war. It is the kingdom of conflict, as well as individuality, self-determination, independence, and daring, and courage, and bravery, and good old Aries pioneering our archetypes. But it's still Mars's kingdom. It's his masculine kingdom, and he is the god of war. And I think about all the ways that we go to war with ourselves. Because we can't make a decision. Mars, decisive, make a decision, take some action. We can't take action. We can't make a decision, or we other or separate, or parts of ourselves off from ourselves, as well as others from ourselves. And in
Right.
Jungian psychology, all the conflict we see because we project on somebody, they're bad, they're wrong, they're evil, is something we haven't dealt with in ourselves anyway. It's really just the shadow of our own undealt with inner conflict. All outer conflict in the world, from a Jungian perspective, is a shadow of disunited bits of ourselves.
Well, and that's so much what Chiron is about being that bridge, right? So we can see the wounding in other people, learn not to hurt other people back, because in doing so, we're really hurting ourselves. And it's funny because I have a perspective that healing is not linear. It's not. It's super messy. When you have your good days and you have your bad days, and it's like grief, it just can come out of the blue and just hit you on an idle Tuesday, years later. But in this situation, the North Node in Aries says that we have to make it linear. We have to get with the program. There is a much more tough love, put on your helmet, do life, like do the work type of energy. It's not soft. It's not coddling. It's in your face. It's direct. It's honest, and it's getting real with yourself. And I think that can be the fast track to actually seeing the results that we generally get from a Chiron transit.
Yeah, yeah, especially with the North Node, because it expands everything, right? It makes it like more intense, more in your face every time, everywhere it goes.
Yeah.
So before we do some all sign delineations, everyone listen for your sun, moon, but most accurate rising. Do you have any? I didn't check the Sabian. I was going to think you're the Sabian
I
girl.
have
Thank
it.
goodness. Okay.
I have it. So obviously we'll read 17 of Aries because the conjunction's at 16 and change. Kind of a silly Sabian, to be honest with you, but makes sense. It's the 17th degree is two prime spinsters sitting together in silence. So you think of those two ladies maybe at the bar enjoying their drinks in their prime years. For me, I think this has a couple different points in terms of my interpretation. I think the first one was solitude and contemplation. The ability to kind of sit in silence and really review and have some introspection and some solitude. That maybe if you have nothing nice to say, or if you're angry, you take a time out, you count to 10, you go for a walk before releasing some of that kind of Mars energy. Wisdom through experience, because obviously spinsters kind of suggest that these are individuals who have lived a long and experienced life. I think maybe this is about working with elders as well. And, Aries is the baby of the zodiac. So where we may actually learn from older generations and kind of take some much needed advice, maybe from our elders or our older friends, or just, older, more experienced people in society who can kind of teach us how to be strong and how to be brave. Mutual understanding, because obviously they're sitting together. And this can be about a level of understanding that goes beyond words. and symbolizing a connection between individuals that transcend verbal communication. We all know that Chiron is the psychic healer. He's not just the physical healer, but he has psychic healing capabilities. The value of stillness, because this encourages us to embrace moments of silence. And also, I think society's expectations. You know, the terms prime spinsters may hint to expectations and traditional roles that might be an emphasis on examining one's own adherence to societal norms. So it may also be about opening up this wound with people who are single, who are not in committed relationships. We have the South Node in Libra right now. So many people are really seeing, you know, the need to break away from certain relationships for just for looks, or maybe because it's convenient or it's comfortable or that's their security. After all, Aries is known as a nomadic sign. So I think a lot of people are embracing living life on their own, being independent, who they are outside of relationships. And I think that this is going to be healing that collectively, and maybe having some people reflect on the need to work on and heal some things before they go into union with another person, because we have to be complete on our own to really fully show up in relationship with another person.
Yeah, that's such a good point with that South Node in Libra right now. Yeah, that dovetails nicely. And also two spinsters. I mean, they are female, right? And the star of discovery was a calf, which is the divine throne of Cassiopeia, the queen. There's in the sense of him being discovered, he kind of carries a star-like Cassiopeia calf archetype within him, which is fascinating, you know? So yeah, I like the spinsters though. I mean, such a rare term because these were channeled in the 1930s. We would never call someone a spinster today.
We would probably call them what would that be? A cougar?
A cougar. Two cougars having a cosmopolitan talking about the next move. I know. It's too funny. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I love that, Sabian. It is kind of cool, but there's two parties and they're not killing each other and they're not fighting. They're contemplating
Right.
together too. So anytime you want to think of two parties together in a non-combative mode, that is definitely looking like those spinsters with their cosmos in hand. Okay, that's really cool. So we're going to hit the all signs now that we covered some basic qualities of Chiron and all of that. And just before we get into the all signs, because I might forget at the end, is there anything coming up with you on your channel or in your courses you'd like to share with people? This is going out sometime in the first week of January 2024.
Yeah. So I'm going to actually be doing a whole webinar on this. It's probably going to be going on in March. I'm kind of planning my year out right now, but I've already started working on it, and it's going to be a whole webinar that's about personal healing, how to work with this energy, how to best tap into it. I'm going to make all kinds of recommendations. My practice is both a combination of not just tarot and astrology, but I really like to work with herbal remedies. I like to work with Bach essences and flowers, and I like to work with aromatherapy and crystals, because I don't want to just diagnose. I want to help people take healing into their own hands. So you guys can check that out. And yeah, pretty much just that. We have a lot of like 2024 calendars also that I've put together that's live on my website.
Oh, wonderful. So I'll direct people straight to your website and your channel. And I do love the flower remedies. I used to use them quite a lot. So cool that something like, a flower remedy can really shift something. It does work. So I love that you're putting herbals and remedies and prescriptions together. Yeah, we just don't want to dump Chiron on your doorstep, guys, and leave you to figure it out. Well, that sounds like a wonderful webinar. And as it gets closer, remind me of it, and I'll share it with my newsletter as well.
Thank you.
Keep people coming your way. So what I think we were going to do is move into the all signs. Do you want to? Do you have like anything you want to share, like this picture-wise? And I'll make sure I give you screen share time, or. I'm not sure.
No, if you just want to do the ascendant, if you want to change the ascendants for me, because I'm using my computer and my phone. So,
oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. So let's move us back over to the chart that I just had up, and then I accidentally forgot poor Venus was in Aquarius. I literally like, oh, who do I need to stick into this chart? I was like, poor Venus. I let her down. So let me get us over there together. Yay. And one of the things we're reminding everybody of, just as a general idea, is that, unless you were alive in 1969, Chiron North Node in Aries is really fresh. It's something you haven't experienced coming together before. So you can't really qualify it. So let's all learn together what it might feel like to be in this era of time that we chose as souls to be born into.
And also anybody who has any planets, 15 to 17 degrees of Aries, sun, moon, rising, personal placements, it's really, really important to be paying attention to what's going on with these
Absolutely.
transits.
Yes, absolutely. You Aries with those placements, so you're going to really notice this is a big deal. And I have my son there at in the mix, pretty close. I'm gonna like give my sun degree to the strangers out there. Hang on, let me get that cued properly. There we go. Um, so yeah, so we're gonna go off and begin with the Aries story, and I'm gonna let you, Candace, you start today, and then we'll move. If you want to go going first, I'll take Taurus, and we'll flip flop.
Sure, we can do that.
Sound
So
good?
for Aries and Aries rising, for you guys, the theme really is it's about self-identity and I think self-expression, self-healing, self-awareness. That seems to be the theme for you guys with this. The potential with this energy is going to be about embracing your true identity, being courageous and expressing yourself, and addressing wounds relating to your self-image. And so this can be everything from your appearance to your face, to how you present yourself, to how you view yourself. And at the time of this particular conjunction, Mars, which is your ruling planet, is going to be in the 11th house in conjunction to Venus and Pluto. So there's a storyline there revolving around how you're able to really embrace your truest self in collaboration and harmony with other people. So the 11th house could be like-minded friends, networks, communities, connections, and people who can really help celebrate you, collaborate with you, and make you feel loved and I think accepted.
Oh, I like that a lot. I think I agree. Of course, I agree with everything you said. I do like Venus in the 11th here as well, in terms of any kind of financial gains and successes, not just in popular appeal with Mars, I mean, in the 11th, but, also that greater financial gain that spoons off, from the 10th house of Capricorn career and reputation. And I wonder if that by coming to a deeper clarity about your, key to purpose, one of the chironic pieces is that those gifts that come from the healing of the wound become the sort of original medicine for the world, or the key of your own deeper purpose. And I always would like to remind everybody as we go through this part of the story, you could be, because this is happening from 2018 to 2027, that Chiron is moving through the Aries sky. It's a big identity process coming through for all Aries to really come into a place of healing any wounds about their actual sense of self. And as you're working with this intense energy, I think in 2024, beginning in February, I kind of feel like this is like the grand finale of the question mark. Who am I? Who am I to be? How can I be purposefully present in this world? Where do I find my unique gifts and talents showing up? And as Candace mentioned, that 11th house can be extremely powerful also for the collaborations of others, groups of people that you belong to, your tribes of choice, being embedded in this new or more refined sense of self, of purpose, of calling, and which direction you wish to take that all in. And I would also say, because Pluto and Venus and Mars are all up there with that star Altair, which I forgot to mention. Altair is like a winning star. It's like play to win, conquer, success. It's got a very eye of the eagle's energy, and it's military. But in our individual lives, I think it's like, where do you really want to win? In 11th house matters. And those 11th house matters are very much about your long range visions and goals, your dreams for your life. Are you setting goals that are truly deeply meaningful, Chiron, and purposeful? Because you're also becoming more clear, literally, about who you want to be in this reality. That's how I kind of see that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So I'm wishing all the Aries out there, because I have sun and moon there as well, the best of luck in this one. The best
So
of
do you want the card?
Oh, absolutely. I want the
Sorry,
card. I forgot about the card.
let me
Yes,
finish.
please. I forgot about our cards. Oh my goodness. Yes.
I got the Page of Cups, which I think is interesting because it very much can be about healing through relationships with other people, opportunities for romantic relationships, but also platonic relationships. And also like learning to work with like that inner wounded child energy, because pages are obviously children. They could be more like youthful energy, or maybe healing in connection with younger people, or connection or collaboration with younger people as well.
Oh yeah. Wonderful. I love that card. It's one of my favorite cards when I grab it in a deck for myself. Yeah. Sorry about that. We'll do the next one.
Okay.
I'll go, then I'll let you do the card too. Talk
Okay.
about talk about a lot of Aries placements in my chart. Okay. All right. I leap and I look later. I speak and I think later. Okay. Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising people. Here we have this very interesting placement of the Chiron North Node conjunction. A gentle reminder that Chiron's been here since 2018 and leaves in 2027. And therefore, there's a lot of deep soul work going on in that 12th house, because in Indian astrology, this is a spiritual liberation place. And so Chiron here is in a very profound soul work, awakening zone of the sky. But, he is very much shamanic. And technically, you may encounter far off shores and shamans, deep wise healers, mentors, and guides from foreign places, because the 12th can bring you into the touch with far off lands. So there's a huge amount of healing you're doing is an inner work time. But I also wonder, I find 12th house is where we sabotage ourselves quite often. It's like where we go into our own self undoing. And it can be that place where you're healing any ways that you shoot yourself in the foot, even through substances and addictions or bad habits and dependencies. And there may be a lovely imprint here in 24 to really go more deeply into this question. Am I screwing my own life up? Where do I accidentally harm myself? And yet with the Mars in the 10th house, whatever this deeper healing is definitely going to show up in your visible world as a part of how people see you, in your reputation, in your visible actions, in your career. And so this definitely has whatever you're doing inward in your 12th house definitely blossoms outward into some kind of powerful action, will, drive, ambitions, integrations as well, because Venus is up there, of what you love to do with what you're passionate about doing in your career and reputation space. It looks like it can really shift that element of how you show up in the outer world into something that's deeply, authentically unencumbered by the ways you doubt your own ability, or that you accidentally play the saboteur role for your own success. That's how I feel. What do you got?
I see it can also be about facing wounds from the past, finding courage in addressing subconscious issues. I think obviously there could be some things that you do behind closed doors which could quite honestly ruin your reputation if it became public. But you may use that to your advantage to basically say, look, this has happened. I've had these experiences. This is what's taking place. Here's what I've learned. And how you can really integrate that into your public life or your profession as a means to totally change and transform your public persona. Almost as if like a grand underdog story could emerge for some Taurus and Taurus risings about having been to kind of like hell and back, and how they were able to kind of overcome that as a really inspirational way of being able to bring attention to what you're doing professionally.
Oh God, yeah, especially hell and back, because Persephone is.
The card that I got is the Four of Wands, which is quite a positive card. For me, this is about, celebrations coming together, presentations, putting something out there. Especially those of you guys, I think of like, Taurus and Taurus risings being very much associated and connected with the arts, or anything of beauty or value. And you've got this Venus Mars in the 10th house. So if you're involved in philanthropy type work, if you're doing fundraising, if you work in photography, or if you're behind the camera, or you do any kind of editing or design, there could be something very beautiful and very amazing that you're presenting that could be celebrated by a group of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And plus with Jupiter holding fort in your first house, all of this is to be said under the umbrella of your lovely Jupiter transit, which gives you a sense of gratitude, half full cup, bounty, magnanimousness, and also just you receive a lot of luck. So yeah, this is a good time for this story of your public reputation or persona really shifting to be. I love the grand underdog story. That was the perfect way to put it.
Yeah, it's cool because the subconscious kind of comes alive here. So it'll be interesting to see what Tauruses are putting out that they've maybe been working on behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. I know a couple of Tauruses I'm thinking of right now, and it really just fits that, redemption story, really.
Yeah.
Whose turn is it again? Me. Gemini, sun, moon, and especially rising sign. Okay, we have the chironic connection to the North Node in your 11th house. And we know, reminding you that we've got that transit of Chiron there since 2018 to 27. So we're in a really intense turning point around the narrative of maybe feeling a sense of unbelonging or not fitting in or somehow being separate and different from those people that you would like to belong to, your tribe of friends, your larger social networks, the groups of people that you may influence or be influenced by. And sometimes, I mean, like I look at a client's chart and they got Chiron on the 11th, they go, did you really not fit in your life at some point, high school, the corporate culture, whatever? And I always get a yes, because this really is a place where there is the three chironic wounds, often that I don't belong to whatever this group would be. So there's an intense desire to heal anything along those lines that may emerge since 2018. And at the same time, I look at that Mars placement in your ninth house. And I always go with the ninth house deepest meaning before I talk about book publishing, travel, churches and court matters. I always go like, hey, this is a big Dharma house. This is where, you're really looking into the house of God in Hellenistic tradition, this idea of finding deeper meaning in your life, and making sense of your life. Why am I here? Or what's my path? What's the best use of my life skills and my energy here? And so Chiron is, taking orders from that Mars in this more deeply meaningful dharmic house. So if I was going really powerfully under the surface of that, I'd say, not only are you shifting your relationship to the groups you influence or that are influenced by, that you belong to or wish to know, but you're also maybe changing some of your longer held forward visions, goals, dreams for your life's purpose, because you're going much, much deeper here under the surface, looking for something transformatively true and powerful, Pluto, that I'm going to say Venus, deeply enjoy. That's also something you can get behind with a little Martian gusto, which is some passion, will, and drive. And so I wonder how many Geminis are going to really look at this time of their life and look in the rearview mirror of 24 and go, that's when I really pin the tail on the donkey of what my deeper, truer calling is and how I wish to share it with a larger, broader group of people, 11th house. And as I progress Sun in Gemini, I might be talking to myself. What do you have, my dear?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at Mercury up there. So I feel like part of Mercury being a part of that stellium in Aquarius is also saying it might be about friends in high places, or friends that are in different cultures or different places, or where you find yourself in communities where you're learning or you're sharing. And if you can't find your tribe, you're starting it yourself. And maybe part of that is healing that wound of feeling like, if you can't join them, beat them, go and do your own thing and create your own following. And you may draw attention and connections from other seekers and other people of different cultures and different backgrounds in different places.
Absolutely, because it is that international house. Yes, absolutely.
I get Page of Swords, which is so cool for Gemini. Maybe in this situation, it's like a little curiosity does you well for once. You're not going to get yourself into some trouble because maybe you're learning and exploring or taking something up that's brand new. It could be as simple as traveling to a place you've never been, or starting a new program, or going back to school. Maybe you begin writing something, maybe, but it's something that's meant to unite and bring other kind of maybe lost souls together, or people who also feel like they're not a part of the collective. So you may tell your story in some way that helps unify and bring other people in, and makes them feel accepted.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the lost souls archetype. I have a friend who created a whole tribe around the idea of being weird, and it was actually I can't remember what he called it, but the key word I would say would be the weird or weirdos, and did a really amazing job of creating a huge following over the idea the weird gather together. So yeah, something like that as well. The misfits gather together. Alrighty. This one is, let's see, your turn.
So this is for Cancer and Cancer rising. So obviously you've got Chiron meeting with the North Node in your 10th house of career. For you and all the other cardinal signs, this may be a little louder. So if you have any personal planets around 15, 16, 17 degrees, Cancer, Sun, Moon, or rising, you're experiencing the Chiron square. And it's at the top of your chart. So it's going to be very visible, whatever you got going on. For me, I think this is about embracing your true calling. taking on a leadership role in your career and addressing wounds relating to your public image. A lot of that can be with being seen. I think about how Mars is in your 8th house at the time of this particular conjunction. It's very clear that you're going through a huge period of change and transformation and embracing new things. For many of you guys, the storyline might mean that you're starting a new job, or maybe you're relocating to, go and do something new. Maybe you are at a turning point with your career. I could see a lot of coaches emerging with this aspect. I could see a lot of people who are entering into entrepreneurship, especially considering Aries as a self-starter. And I think it's about really working through the fear, revolving around going your own way, and maybe being more visible and being seen. And some of you guys might be embracing a healing journey, but you're having to kind of let go of this idea that the money won't come. Because the 8th house is about that connection to other people's resources and also crisis. So I could see a lot of opportunities where people will be in need of your services, or maybe there are some resource connections where people are investing in your business, or maybe loans are going through, or there's some kind of connection and collaboration with wealth of a partner, making it possible for you to actually kind of have this dramatic change in terms of your personal persona.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you going to grab a card now, or do you want me to jump in?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm really pondering that 8th house myself. I haven't come up with my idea yet. You go first. You give me the card.
It's safe to say whatever it is, there's something changing about the public status.
Absolutely.
But in my opinion, the Queen of Coins says that it could be quite an abundant change for Cancer and Cancer risings.
Okay, I love it.
I would just say, having Chiron in my 10th house natally, the sooner that you embrace it, the better. Even though you're a little reluctant maybe to be seen, or maybe you're going to feel like you're going to stand out, that Queen of Coins is saying that there is so much abundance, there's support, there's security, there's professionalism. But obviously Aries is something you're just learning how to do. So I think you're growing into that, but this is that time. And I think about the next couple of years, as Saturn and Neptune are also ingressing into your 10th house, getting with the program now, if you know that there needs to be a change in your professional life, is the way to go. You're being kind of drawn in that direction. And I think it's going to play out very, very well. There could be some support of, an earth sign woman who can come in, who can mentor you or guide you. After all, Saturn's in your 9th house. So I think it's going to play out very well.
Well, I do like that you picked a money card for, a money. The 8th house is locked and loaded here. Yeah. So it is everything that I think Candace said. I totally agree. And it's getting down with your kind of expression, a purpose that may have been like somewhat of the focus for you, maybe not even a challenge since 2018, like purposeful expression of career that feels like I am in a place of belonging in my expression. And, at the same time, with this energy of that Mars in the 8th house, I just did a webinar with another astrologer, Adam Ellenbus, and he said something about the 8th house being the esteem of others, and I've never heard that, but he grabbed it out of like Vedius Valens or something. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, if the esteem of others is also connected to the 8th house, look how locked and loaded this is for you. I mean, we got like so much goodness of the Venus, Pluto, Mars, Mercury going on. But I also know in real life, when I have clients with like stelliums in the 8th house, they are very able to generate wealth through non-earned income. And I have to laugh because like, if you look at the whole sign house chart of a trillionaire, J.K. Rowling, who wrote the Harry Potter series, she's a classic example of not just the house of magic and occult mysteries being chock-a-block, but that's how she became so wealthy. So I think a lot of the energy of this for some of you, book publishing, royalties, whatever, shared resources with partners, investment incomes, those things somehow are tying in to how you are being able to resolve some sense of like, being okay with you being in the top of the sky for your reputation, for how people see you, for what you offer. And I just really like moving past that, because there is a stellium in the house of the esteem of others. And that's only a new bit of data set that I got last week. And I'm like, okay, so that could be a worthy place for that. And also, of course, you can have secrets in the eighth house. Not that I'm saying there are secrets here, but Mars is, Mr. Mischief with Mercury. And so if any kind of like unknown data field, especially about your family of origin, maybe the fourth house matters, is revealed to you in February or March or whatever, I wouldn't be surprised, but I think it kind of lifts you up a little bit more in your ability to express your maybe your truer calling and your more authentic gifts in a visible part of the sky without fear of question mark, whatever you were fearing, rejection, being weird, not fitting in. So yeah, it feels very wholesome for me for the career story for sure. Okay. Then we move on to Leo. So I go on Leo. Let's talk, you guys. How's your hair? how's, how's your mane? First thing, when I'm rectifying charts sometimes, and people go, "No, I know I'm a Cancer." I just look at their hair. I go, "You're not a Cancer. You're definitely a Leo." So first of all, the thing I'd say is that Chiron is moving into that conjunction with the North Node in your ninth house of God or spiritual beliefs, ideology, philosophy. It's also got other meanings to do with foreign shores, international places, and also sometimes publications, including book publishing, and sometimes legal matters. And, he's been here since 2018, leaves in 2027. So this is a longer story, but I think this is a critical turning point for you about what you need to heal in this part of the chart that I also sometimes call the house of faith. Where is your faith? What do you believe? And what matters, for you in terms of making sense of your own life and the world around you from some philosophy of reality. How do you parse it? And so now you got this archetypal healing going on at the top of the sky. And with Mars, a dispositor in your seventh house, I'm wondering if the opening here for those sorts of more deeper philosophical resolutions doesn't come from a significant other, whether it's your marriage partner, a business partner, or somebody you're encountering that really makes a big dent in your life. Pluto, Venus could be a powerful female. Pluto, Venus, Mars could just be a powerful person with a very strong directionality or a feisty, bold, declarative energy, because it does also say that maybe as you resolve something in the ninth house, which can be book publishing, you're going to get a lot of action going commensurate in your house of others. And if you have a real like outreach, like a public or marketplace, this house, because it's 10th from the 10th, does open up the possibility that as this deeper part of you to do with how you view the meaning of life, your life, spiritual philosophy, resolving itself cannot not just benefit you, but it can benefit a larger group of people that you begin to share that with, or individuals maybe, or also just the marketplace for whatever you're doing in that Jupiter-fueled 10th house, where your career stuff is getting bigger and better anyway. And so we got this side story of the healing in the ninth. Anything else I'd say? A Chiron up here can look like a guide, a mentor, a healer, a coach, a teacher. I mean, honestly, like I find the ninth house are the advisors to the astrologer advisors to the king, right? The hand of the king. So are you bringing in a hand of your king queen self to really support you in the wake of this conjunction in February and in the weeks or months that follow, that can really be your person, your one teacher, guide, mentor, healer that you can really lean on as well. That's kind of a thought I have. What do you get for this one, Candace?
Also, taking a leadership role in your beliefs, putting them into action, really walking the walk and talking the talk. Obviously initiating educational pursuits, that may come through some type of mentorship or somebody who you want to follow or you want to train with, if you want to learn from. And addressing wounds relating to your philosophical outlook. Some of you guys are embracing a new belief system, and that may be significantly impacting your relationships. So it's very likely that, you're bringing somebody in who's coaching you through your relationships or coaching you through your business, or somebody who can be really helping you change and transform what you put out there, and whether that's in relationship to others or what you're selling. So you could also bring somebody in who's really good with strategy and marketing to really kind of rebrand yourself if you're somebody who has your own business. The other side of my brain says, well, if you're legally going to war with somebody, or if you're separating or divorcing, you're going to bring somebody in who's going to legally guide you and help you through that process of not feeling like the victim, feeling like you're able to kind of defend yourself and helping kind of guide you through the legal process. Obviously, touch wood, But if that does end up happening, it looks like you've got some kind of support from somebody who really knows how to maneuver and navigate that legal system.
Mm-hmm.
The card that I got for you guys is, ooh, the Wheel of Fortune. I love that for the ninth house. How cool is that? That's traditionally kind of like this like Jupiterian type of house, you know. And with the Wheel of Fortune, you know, you never really know what you're going to get. Obviously, we associate that with like the Wheel of Fortune, you know, like TV show where you spin the wheel and sometimes you get 2 cents and sometimes you get, you know, $1 and you get the grand prize. But I do see this as also opportunities for maybe travel, for growth, for expanding your mind, and also, you know, where you find yourself, and good fortunate situations that are going to be manifesting and materializing. You know, obviously, I think the sun is going to be somewhere kind of leaving the 7th house and going into the 8th house at the time of this transit. So for some of you guys, it could be really big love stories with people who might be culturally different or diverse or from a different place. So I'm wondering if traveling also leads to that potentially for some of you guys as well.
Yeah, that's a great card for that one too. Wow, it's a powerful card too. I mean, it really is like, which, you know, Jupiter in the 10th house and a Wheel of Fortune relative to this, you know, 9th house question mark. That's a very potent turning point of one's destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're out of order, but your turn. I'm like,
Okay.
track. Don't even talk
No
about
worries.
menopause brain and also Christmas season.
So we've got Virgo and Virgo rising. Obviously, you have this Chiron North Node conjunction happening in your natal 8th house. Really, for this, it's about initiating transformative change, addressing wounds relating to shared resources, and finding courage in matters of intimacy and transformation. I think about how it's going to be about embracing change. And the 8th house is always going to give you endings and beginnings. So there's this kind of phoenix rebirth energy. But Aries, the lens of Aries is going to be through yourself. So you are changing. You are kind of embracing the shadow side and doing shadow work and kind of cleaning out the closet, I like to say, in the 8th house, of all of the boogeymen and the things that you're afraid to kind of deal with. This may require trauma therapy or various healing therapies. I think of Mars being in your 6th house, and it definitely can be about your habits, cutting habits out, detoxing, clearing, you know, things that you know that aren't serving you, that have become a part of your daily routine. And you may realize and recognize that, especially with Mercury being in the 6th house, you have the ability to create change. And so I would be looking at your habit and what you're doing in the day-to-day. And if you know that you shouldn't be eating something, or you need to be getting up earlier, or that you need to kind of cut something from your diet, it's about embracing that. And so many of the aspects from the 6th to the 8th house do kind of symbolize that it might be about detoxing, purging, and clearing out. So I think that might be something that happens. For some of you guys, it may materialize literally in health ways, like cutting or removing things. There may be things that you have to kind of laser off or burn off, or there may be, you know, things that are tested in health senses. But Chiron is there. It's basically saying that as long as you're doing the work and connecting with your healing team or your practitioners, and you're going to be able to kind of move through that pretty swiftly.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a card for them?
Sure.
Then I'll go chat about 6th house stuff too.
2 of Cups, which is interesting. This is a relationship card. I think about how, you know, relationships for you obviously is the 7th house. You can't see it, but Saturn and Neptune are there right now. And the 6th house is 12th to the 7th. And I have the philosophy that relationships go through clearings and endings and changes actually in the 12th. So with a loaded 6th house, which is 12th to the 7th, excuse me, this might be that you're kind of clearing or healing issues in relationships. Could be to romantic partners. It could be to coworkers. But it's here to better and maybe even like purify your relationships, which is interesting. These planets are squaring Jupiter, and Jupiter rules your 7th. So it might mean that you're needing to do your due diligence to kind of like heal or remedy issues with relationships prior to bigger relationship commitments or other storylines that are going to unfold. Obviously, going into the spring next year, as Jupiter and Uranus come into conjunction, some of you guys might suddenly elope or get married, or, you know, maybe there's a lot of scheduling things that need to do. And what I love about the sixth house is that this is where you get ready before you meet another person. I kind of use the term, you know, before you go on the date, you're brushing your teeth and fixing your hair and putting your makeup on and fixing your collar before we go into the seventh house. So it's almost like you're perfecting something about yourself and your routine prior to kind of better showing up and meeting other people. And it can be great for relationships, ironically. So maybe better intimacy, deeper connection, better sex, that kind of stuff might come from this as well.
Yeah. Well, I think I agree with all of that for sure. And I love that 12th and the 7th, you know, it does indicate there's that energetic space that the six overlaps with. I kind of feel like this also because I have a few Virgos in my life, so I can like look at what they're going through. I'm thinking like literally four people, and Virgo rising, sun and moon people, but mostly rising is that, you know, there's this energy of something like deeply needing to heal in that eighth house. And I think like the boogeyman is what Candace called it, right? But it's something that like trauma, maybe something that never really got digested by your system. And you've been trying to maybe even heal it ever since 2018. And now you're coming into this like intense window. And that eighth house energy can also just literally be about healing something to do with how you're able to share the resource abundance, shared assets, shared finances with someone that you're with, and in a way that's going to be very wholesome for you as well. Like you're going to feel like, yeah, this is no, I'm not wounded here anymore. And there's that question mark in relationship to that sixth house. It can be about some self-undoing. It's on that 6-12 axis, and it can bring you into places of, this is called the house of sickness, but it doesn't have to be physical. Where are you in a sense of enslavement to a habit, to a pattern, to something that doesn't really work for you anymore? Or even just a job that doesn't work for you anymore? Is it time to cut Mars and sever that place of work for something more authentically joyful and powerfully true, Venus, Pluto? And my experience when I see this going on anyway, just as a theme, this idea of this eighth house wound for all my Virgo folks, is that some of it is actually weirdly about that sexual intimacy that goes beyond the playtime sex or just the procreative sexuality and moves it into something deeper. Like, where do I really feel connected at a spiritual level or emotional level, beyond my identity? You'll find sex magic, tantra, all that kind of stuff in the eighth house. For real life clients who do that stuff, that's where they got placements. And so maybe if you're in a relationship, as Candace pointed out, there's a lot of relationship energy included here. You're looking at like this energy of pushing into something new, a foreign territory, Rahu, North Node, for how intimacy should feel and look for you. Because I mean, Venus is also witnessing this, right? With Mars, and Venus and Mars are the cosmic lovers. And so I like this energy that it doesn't seem obvious at first, but when you dig into it, there's a lot for Virgos going on here about a relational shift around intimacy, sexuality, romance, and healing of your own self-limiting habits and patterns as well.
I love that. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I think that's such a great connection. I mean, yeah, it makes sense with the Two of Cups coming up.
Exactly. I mean, you can't get the love affair card and a more perfect card to represent this kind of like, if you dig for it, you see what we're seeing, right? It's not just on the surface. So cool. Right. And I think I'm next in our disordered order. Libra, sun, moon, rising sign. Am I next? I think so.
Yeah, it's your turn.
I know it's all out of order now. Well, first of all, hey, you got the South Node going through your sign. Let's not forget that. So all you Libra people are feeling the energy of K2 South Node at the highest level. You could be surrendering to a more divine reflection and letting go of the grasping in life. And that's true until, 2025, January. And in the backdrop of that, just to remind you, over there in the house of others who have the North Node, those others that matter, your seventh house of your significant relationships, particularly long-term love, committed love relationships, but also relationships that may involve significant others that are not your love partners. And those areas of your life, the significant love and friends and partnerships of your life, have been experiencing chironic woundedness ever since 2018, where maybe although you are wanting to experience a powerful sense of union with others or connection with others, there's something you're working through. Although at the same time, Chiron here could have brought you guides, teachers, healers, and mentors into your life writ large ever since 2018 to support you, because that's also the others. It could be chironic, shamans included. But I also find that, this chironic wound here about other would reflect your own wound, right? If you feel like a sense of rejection or a sense of not being met by significant others in your life, the first place that Libra needs to go right now is inside of themselves, rather than say, my boyfriend doesn't get me, my business partner is treating me poorly, or whatever that is. And I'm speaking about Libras, I know too. So I know a lot of you guys going through this. It's really like, take that mirror and say, well, am I reflecting my own lack of self acceptance in some way in the mirror of those others? Because this is a very shadow work place, the seventh house. The dispositor is Mars, and he's parked his ass in your house of romantic love, children, fertility, pregnancy can be here, things to do with what inspires you, motivates you, fills you with enthusiasm. What I always jokingly call, it's why you get out of bed in the morning. Your Dharma fifth house is the joy of your Dharma, and it's where you go, wow, I'm so excited for my reality to undergo the next day, the next day. And when we lose our vitality, our spark, our joy, right, which we can all do at certain times of our life, then this is a place where we can recover that innocence. So I wonder if Mars is with Venus, the goddess of joy and enjoyment and pleasure, and Pluto, powerful and deep and transforming pleasure, enjoyment, and joy. Mars is kind of saying, like, yes, let's get that underway from our creative muse, from our, our things we do that inspire us. And let's apply that to how we interact with those significant others. And that may include larger others, like an audience or marketplace as well. I wanted to say that for Libras here, you might also wonder if you want to focus more on others, really, and less on yourself because of that South Node in the house of you, and get some greater enjoyment, Venus, Mars, pleasure, satisfaction, and sizzle by being really engaged with the others in your life and less on yourself, which Libras tend to do anyway, but out of balance half the time. It's all about you or all about me. And like to find that it's a balance in it, but still leaning a little towards how, this could pull you into satisfaction and joy by serving others, helping others, engaging others, those kinds of things. That's my thoughts. What do you have?
Well, as a Libra rising, I think a lot of it's been about courageously addressing relationship issues. The seventh house is also the house of sparring. It's not just about relationships and commitments. It's where a lot of us are dealing with harsh relationship realities, and whether that's with ourselves, right? And how sometimes that lack of connection to self creates that imbalance in relationships with other people. I love the Mars Venus connection in the fifth house. I feel like it's basically saying, hey, we both need to be happy. We both need to have fun. We both need to enjoy ourselves. And maybe it might mean that we need to cut loose a little bit. We need to be willing to take risks in relationships and be very passionate in the things that we're doing, and that it may lead us to deeper connections. But also, I think it's healing wounds relating to one-on-one connections and taking the initiative in partnerships. For Libra risings, that South Node in the first house is that letting go of these old identities, and then the North Node in Aries might mean not just partnerships, but reinventing yourself and how other people see you. And so the fifth house can be artistic, creative, a little bit weird and wacky. And for many people, it can be about this birth of something that you're doing with another person. So it can be sharing something with your audience, having a child with a partner. It can be launching a business. So the births don't have to be physical, but I do think that there's a storyline here for Libra risings, because that is coming into a square with Jupiter, that it may create more wealth. It may create better intimacy, deeper connection, and more opportunities to experience like magic, basically.
Oh,
So.
yeah. Yeah. Venus is very fertile in that fifth house. So yeah, giving birth for sure.
Okay, let's see what card we get here. We get the Nine of Wands. Interesting. Well, I mean, Mars and Venus in conjunction, it's gonna go one of two ways. It's gonna be passionate regardless, but good or bad, I guess that is to be determined. Perhaps maybe this talks a lot about overcoming some of the challenges, and that for me, I think a lot of Mars and Venus in the fifth is fighting for what you love, and the unwillingness maybe to kind of back down, kind of feeling maybe a little beaten and battered, especially like the Libras that are single and finding it difficult to connect with people, and maybe kind of feeling like you're on that verge of just being like, I'm going to throw in the towel. But I would say don't do that, you know, do more work with that self-love and the inner child in the fifth house, and then watch the story unfold with that solar eclipse in the spring, around April 8th, because there will be a retrograde. The eclipse is at 19, which is a relationship energy. And we're also going to see that that eclipse in itself is going to unfold for about 13 months. So that solar eclipse is planting a seed. And Libra, as you see Mars come up to those degrees and you see other transits kind of happen in the summertime, and then finally the eclipses in the fall, we're going to see more relationship opportunities. So I think it's about not giving up hope, not feeling like you're like burnt out on the relationship and kind of like dating game.
Yeah, I think we buried the lead. As for hey, single Libras, you're turning a corner. For sure, for sure. Or already mated Libras, you're turning a corner. What is needed
Yeah.
to heal something? Yeah, beautifully said. And I like the card as well. You know, all those nines are about kind of coming to a culmination of something, you know, to turn into something new at one energy. So, all right, let's move into the sign of Scorpio. And I think it's your turn to start first, my dear.
So you have Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You're going to be experiencing the North Node Chiron conjunction in your natal sixth house. And this is interesting because obviously Mars is really important in your chart. So whether we see something going on with Mars in transit or with Aries, it still kind of reverberates and it affects you. Aries is a sign that quincunxes are in conjunct you. So you might kind of feel like something's a little disjointed in the midst of this transit. So pay attention. The sixth house for you is about, you know, proactively addressing health issues, taking the leadership role in your well-being and finding courage in service-related activities, aka work, 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 and more work. But what is too much work, and what is service, and who are you serving and helping? You got to look at Mars and Venus, which is in conjunction to Pluto, your modern day ruler, in your fourth house of home and family. So it does seem as if a lot of the sixth house stuff is about how much do you give of yourself maybe to others, and what are you willing to do for your clan or your family members or your roommates or your partners, maybe friends that you might live with. And a lot of this might also be about emotional healing, because the fourth house can be the past. It has this connection to the mother and the moon. I think about how Venus is in conjunction, and that's your seventh house ruler. So you have some support coming from partners or collaborators or other people who want to support you through these healing abilities or these changes maybe with your health. For Scorpio risings, I've seen it materialize as like needing to be there for a family who are undergoing health related matters and needing care or needing to go back home. I've also seen it as partners taking care of Scorpios, you know, in the home base and helping kind of nurture them. And maybe it's about, you know, new patterns when it comes to home. I think of like taking the initiative to be like, I am cleaning all the sugar out of the kitchen, you know, Pluto, Venus. I am reorganizing the house, you know, I'm having a better work schedule. I'm prioritizing time with family as well. So you're going to have to ask yourself, how much work is too much work, and how is it impacting my health, and how can I better kind of shift my habits maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whenever I see Mars down in the fourth house by transit, people get very active in the home for something they really got to get done, whatever it is, you know. And then Venus is helping out by not like causing fights while you're getting it all done. So yeah, I think for you Scorpios. Oh, I forgot you got a card. You go for your card first.
Yeah,
But I just laughing at Mars down there.
I got the star card, which is cool because this is about Aquarius. So it very much is bringing the attention. Yes, it's the eclipse, excuse me, the eclipse, the North Node conjunction with Chiron, the eclipse, the retrograde, all that stuff. It's going to be happening in your sixth house, but it's in harmony and it's really pointing at your fourth, which makes sense because, well, I mean, Mars rules your chart. So there's some connection between the two. Aquarius, the star card, healing, connection to the collective, connection to your family lineage, healing ancestral trauma, working through maybe addiction habits in the family, or working through health patterns that are kind of continuing, you know, through you know, various lineages. And I especially the sixth house, I think of habits. So emotional habits, physical habits, you know, naughty habits, things that you're trying to kind of change, and the ability to kind of heal and supersede some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. The star card is such a beautiful pouring those healing waters, upon whatever needs to be healed. I think that, just on a really practical note, right? You can get domestic animals in that sixth house, and if you need an emotional support cat, which is really hard to get, or an emotional support dog, or a more emotional support guinea pig, I have a feeling some Scorpios will lean into the discovery of the healing power of animals that live close to us as a result of this, whether that's the first time you've had a pet or you go out and get one for the first time. I mean, I think there's a lot of like beauty and love and joy in the home, Venus, that transforms something, even though your childhood wounds, because your parents wouldn't let you get a pet or something weird. But, pets can be really weirdly entwined in this story, right? And it's ironic because, it's something I don't often think about, but just because we have so much fourth house activity, your home and domestic life may benefit from a new animal coming into your life or seeking out the support of an animal. So I'm going to go with that can fit in your house. And I guess also I'd say, it's a little weird sideways one, but because the workhouse is the sixth house and you may have been like your day-to-day job, you may feel a little wounded around that since 2018, and you're trying to like maybe find more purposeful work, let's just say. I wonder if there's not a change here of work that leads to a change of home. I mean, because Pluto, death and rebirth of home, Mars, change in new directions, and Venus, you love the new place. So some of you might just end up, through hell or high water, beginning to heal some kind of feeling of your work not belonging to you properly. And also it may involve a change of your home. My Scorpio rising sun always comes to mind here because he works as a sales guy in a field that really is meaningless, but he's an engineer and a sound engineer and a creative artist. And so that wound of work for him is very accurate. But I just think that a lot of you are going to look at a coming into a turning point around what work you're willing to do that's meaningful, and maybe something to do with your home, even just being able to work from home instead of going into an office. So those kinds of very surface level changes. Yeah, I think that's about that. Um, my turn, I think. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. The energy of the North Node conjunction with Chiron is going to happen in February in your fifth house. And this is a place that flows to you in a trine energy. So in a way, even though it's intense, it's also not necessarily, as for the Leos as well, we already covered them, feeling really all that difficult, maybe even quite welcome. So there's kind of a chironic wound maybe that you started to feel in 2018 around your sexuality, around your love life, around your creative joy and your artistic expression, maybe even around things that have to do with your children or even fertility. And this is something that has been moving through your story. And now we're having this very inflammation or expansion of the North Node turning point, maybe bringing in a healing around those areas of your life. And with Mars dispositing this story from your third house, it really does apply a lot to anyone who also works in a field of communications or writing, especially writing, third house, that may have not felt that their process of creating things that are, messages, communications, or writing have been all that fulfilling. And I wonder too, I mean, that Mars placement in the third house can indicate a change of direction in relationships to people that are third house people in your life. That also brings greater healing around, are you enjoying your life? Chiron in the fifth, are you finding the vital spark of enthusiasm for reality? So third house people that may be involved here in a positive way are siblings, sometimes cousins, also people who live around you. And I've also noticed childhood friends, those ones you make in elementary and high school. So these people may apply towards supporting some sort of revivifying, vitalizing, return to innocence, play, joy, fun, sexuality, and romance in your life. And, I wonder too if you have a creative project that you felt was going nowhere. I think Mars is ambitious and Venus is lucky and Pluto is transformative and Mercury is saying, let's communicate it. So these kinds of things can really lift off perhaps in the wake of the 2024 union of the North Node with Chiron. Yeah. Uh, Well, one more thing. Mars cuts. I just want to say, he ends things. So you might be better to leave the neighbor or the neighborhood or leave the sibling thing alone. Like, maybe sometimes there's more healing in letting go of a sibling relationship or neighborly relationship that devitalizes you and brings you joylessness. Just a saying, could be sometimes better to quit than to persevere here. That's a possibility because Pluto's there as well. You might want to learn something that really you're excited and passionate about doing, and that also supports your creative and vital energies of what you want to create in this world, birth in this world, in this time of being alive. All right, I'm going to pass the baton to Candace.
So I got the Page of Wands, which I think is so like perfect for the Sagittarius rising predictions, because this can be about connecting with that inner child, doing that inner child work, healing that wound, revolving around playtime, learning how to accept yourself, love yourself. And, through doing that, there may be new forms of self-expression that come through writing. Third house can be writing. You could launch a YouTube channel. You could start writing a blog. You could create a podcast, something that you do that you're making time for. Because I know this is also squaring Jupiter in your sixth house. So you're like, I need to make the time to do this, or, I need to connect more with the community. So I need to kind of rearrange my schedule. I think it's about talking more about the things that you love and sharing the things that you love and talking more about the joy and the positivity of life. And really allowing your inner child to kind of shine, because so much of this transit is about embracing your creative self and initiating creative projects and addressing these wounds relating to self-expression and kind of learning to go your own way with the North Node in the fifth house and focusing more on what brings you joy. And it doesn't always just have to be creative. It can also be athletic. I think of like the fifth house is, I'm going to go and play golf. Think of sports and other things that you can do that's on your own independently, where you're flexing something health-wise, because Jupiter is in your sixth house. So you may be doing something that you enjoy, but it's a little bit more kind of rough and tumble, or maybe you're joining a martial arts class somewhere locally in town, something like that. That's helping you feel strong and also confident and more assertive.
Yeah, absolutely. And have fun. While
Well,
you're doing it, guys.
and children is another thing. Obviously, eclipses in your fifth house. Children could be there. So the Page of Wands could be about through a connection with a child, or having a child, or your relationship with your first child, or a younger person. You're healing something within yourself.
That makes so much sense for a Sag. I know what you just said about the children wound. Yeah, very important piece. All right, your turn to go first.
So we have Capricorn rising. Obviously, with all the cardinal signs, you might be feeling the crunch. So pay attention if you're around, 15, 16, 17 degrees Capricorn sun, moon, or rising. You'll be experiencing the North Node Chiron conjunction in your natal fourth house, which is connected to your home. So healing family wounds, taking a leadership role in family matters, and finding the courage to address issues at the core of your emotional foundation is very important. Ancestral healing concept, but also healing revolving around finding your own home, finding your own space, creating your own space. So some of you guys, through also the eclipses, might be getting into your first apartment, buying your own home, maybe returning back home, taking care of a parent, or being closer to family. At the time of the particular conjunction, Mars is going to be in your second house. So it may also be about the financial power, right? The spending power, the financial capability of saying, I've got it. I've had this turn or this change of fortune with Pluto going into your second house. That's bringing up themes revolving around the capabilities of owning your own space or being in your own space. Now, for other people, obviously, the Pluto transit can be different. So it can be, well, I've had a major dramatic change in my finances. I'm going back home. I'm spending time with my family. I'm kind of reassessing where I'm going. Maybe some of you guys with the South Node eclipses in your 10th are saying, I quit my job. I just really want to focus more on taking care of my emotional healing, being closer to home. So it depends. It's going to vary. But I do think that for many of you guys, it's hard to imagine that there isn't going to be home changes, because there's so much focus in the fourth house that's going on. But also, if there is changes going on with property and real estate, inheritance might kind of come up as well. It is possible that, especially toward the latter end of the year, I think of like the Mars retrograde, that can be bringing you guys some storylines revolving around things shifting, and it might be about inheriting property or other things that could bring you more of a sense of stability in your home.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Do you want to grab a card and then I'll chime
Yeah.
in?
So the card that I got for you guys is, oh wow, again, the Two of Cups again.
Oh my God.
Mars and Venus. I mean, obviously that's interesting. Relationship to home. And I think a lot of this, I've been telling a lot of my Capricorn risings, this is like, home is where you are, right? Aries in the fourth house. You are home. It's not a physical place, but maybe you're finding that there's some changes going on in your relationships, which is impacting your home. Maybe this is about bettering the relationships that you have with the concept and the idea of home or family. Support maybe that you're getting from other people. You know, I think about how that eclipse, because it involves, you know, the moon, is going to be about other people and your home, and where that may be opening things up and making it possible for you to heal a wound, and like maybe learning to let other people love you or nurture you or take you in, or, you know, take care of you. And so maybe that's part of the Two of Cups, is kind of letting other people kind of join in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the card for this one as well. Yeah. Venus and Mars keep speaking to us. So they're definitely got a chiming in and going, yeah. So Chiron here, like I do know at least 3 Capricorn people in my life who felt like that sense of not belonging in their, you know, finding a true home. And this has been since 2018, reminds me of that old Dr. Seuss book, Are You My Mother? And I always jokingly say the Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and rising, mostly rising, sometimes sun, are like, are you my home? Are you my mother? Well, they're actually, you know, mother and home is the same thing, fourth house. So they're looking for the true home or home base, or feeling at home in the home, or, you know, knowing where to go to be at home in themselves. And this literally has looked like a lack of satisfaction in nesting or rooting in a home. And I find that this can look like a turning point with that eclipse, as Candace mentioned, coming up in April, also involving the moon, which rules your seventh, Capricorns. Therefore, there's something going on about home and other, home and partner, home and a relationship, even literally. Maybe a relationship with somebody leads you to a better home or the right home. Now, funny enough, you know, every time Mars goes to the second house, people go on food elimination diets. I watch it constantly. I'm quitting wine. I don't eat gluten anymore. I'm trying out the 360 or the, you know, whatever, the Gundry diet. So with Mars baking into this kind of second house, what do you ingest through your mouth kind of part of your sky? There may also be some ancestral healing, because Chiron's in the house of your family of origin and the ancestral line, and the way you grew up as a child, around the way you've dealt with the foods you choose to eat. And, you know, it may be the oddest thing to find out that this is also going to turn around your food style. I always call it. I just say, what's your food style to people, you know, because everyone has one. I'm paleo, I'm keto. So there may be some kind of food style shift going on at a very practical level in the wake of this chironic shift in February. And it may have an impact on you in a way that you didn't anticipate, right? Because Venus brings you pleasure and joy in what you imbibe in your fourth house, and Mars is eliminating, Pluto's transforming, and Mercury's talking. So somehow you might end up with a food style change that you kind of deliberately or somehow find, you know, deliberate action to change your food style through this energy of all this intensity in your fourth house. Now, at a very practical note, I mean, because K2 and Rahu have meanings separately. North Node can mean the foreigner or foreign shores or the foreign energy in Indian astrology. And I find it sometimes very literal. Could you be rehoming in a foreign land and we'll change your food style because they don't have any, you know, Haagen-Dazs in that country? So we'll see. That could be very, really literal and practical for a few of you Capricorns. All right, that's about all I've got because you covered it so well, actually. I'm picking up the loose ends and I'm struggling to find something extra to say. All right, so I'm Aquarius. I'm one of you. So as far as Aquarius rising and sun, you can also listen for your moon if you like. And energetically, we are going to be experiencing a shift, a big opening energy, a healing in our third house in February. And again, it's an area where we've been investigating the woundedness since 2018. It's such a broad, we call it, you said the kitchen drawer, junk drawer last time we were together. I think I've kept it in my lingo since then, because the third house is like everything. It's some siblings, especially the one younger. It's like the neighbors and the neighborhood, and it's short trips and travel. And it has things to do with writing and communicating. I find it really is emblematic of social media platforms and websites in our day and age as well. And finally, it could also involve something to do with, I forget, a kitchen sink drawer. Well, your daily activities and routines as well, in a certain way, as it applies to your neighborhood. So, the shops you always go to, the restaurants you always attend. So I kind of think that, whatever this is that you're having to heal, any one of those areas, I could speak to the writing wound because I haven't written anything worthwhile since 2018, and I'm a writer by trade. This is going to definitely be a time for healing, a healing for a younger sibling, by the way, not even about you, a younger sibling or a sibling in general experiences some kind of healing essence off of this February event. But I find it fun and interesting to look at the Mars dispositor in the house of you as this occurs. So it's actually a very empowering position, because you are the one doing Mars. You are the one being Mars. So you can be very decisive action taking, just sort of sword-like in a very a Spock-like way, right? Because it's Aquarius. It's not like you're out there frothing at the mouth, having a temper tantrum, but you can definitely be able to decide to take an action, cut something off in a way that's actually got Venus's blessing. So it's going to be, good overall. And it's yet deeply transforming Pluto to who you are as it applies to your relationships, to those third house people, that sibling, that cousin, maybe that local neighborhood, gnarly neighbor. Also to things you do in that third house, communicate, especially online these days. And you'll make some significant changes because Mars does direct us to new. Mars in Babylonian astrology is simply the god of change. They didn't have Uranus. So you're making changes toward third house matters. And you've got all of the power, all of the glory, because you're up there with Pluto. So you actually take charge here. This doesn't happen to you. You happen to it. You're the one, you're the boss of the story. And so it feels very positive, but reminding you, like Candace keeps telling us again and again, there is an eclipse that lasts over a year in its influence, very powerful total eclipse here in the third house. And it can really be a radical transformation, even while you're making decisive moves with Mars. You're not making a small decision. You're making some kind of action decision plans that are going to inevitably, in the year that follows, really play out as, deeply transformational to your identity. It's not just like, I'm no longer going to battle with that sibling. I'm going to, maybe divorce them. I love my sibling. So that's not a story for me, but there's something very intensely healing going on here. And by the way, not belonging to your neighbor or neighborhood, something as simple as that, because I can attest to that, is something that you may have also been coping with. And there may be a very, very profound healing around that question mark of what's my crew and my zone of everyday life that really feels right for me. So that's what I've got from the kitchen drawer that's full of junk. I'm going to pass the buck.
I got the Two of Pentacles, which is really interesting because I feel like that is the card of multitasking. So it's this and it's that. So I really look to the Mars-Venus conjunction, where Mars being the ruler of the 10th house of career and reputation, Venus being the ruler of home. Obviously, when we look at all of this energy in the first house, it's a house of action. It's the first thing you do in the morning. It's your instinctual kind of response. And all of that is squaring those fourth house placements, right? So there is this, I want freedom, I want to break free, but there's the home and the family and the security and the responsibility, and I got to do this and I got to do that. So kind of being pulled in two different directions. Something that I've been meditating on a lot when I think about this conjunction of Mars and Venus and Pluto has been this kind of rebel call, right? This like a revolutionary kind of like speak that's going to start kind of coming up collectively. You're going to hear a lot of people, especially in America, they're going to be talking about that energy of that revolutionary spirit. Aquarius and Aquarius risings are going to be the mouthpieces for this. They are going to be the ones that are going to kind of throw their hands up in the air and kind of say, like, I've been telling you guys all along, go against the grain, like start a problem, create a ruckus, make the problem bigger. And I think that what you're going to recognize is that this sense of indecisiveness, maybe that you've had about about causing a scene is finally you're going to break through that. And the third house is about communication and sharing and learning and movement. And so rather than feeling kind of stifled by being pulled in different directions, I think you're just going to stop thinking and you're just going to start writing. You're going to start speaking. You're going to speak up. You're going to communicate and kind of break through that barrier of feeling like that you need to be censoring yourself in some ways, so that there can be new things that can kind of emerge, new social media networks, there could be new websites, there could be new books that you're writing, things that you're kind of putting together it's just flowing out of you and you feel like you just can't keep your mouth shut. And so, yeah, maybe you'll cause a little bit of a ruckus, sure, but I think that it's something that's going to be so necessary at the time where you're going to be almost like creating this call to action for other people to kind of stand up and kind of wake up.
Yeah, that's beautifully said, especially with Jupiter, square that Mars, the owner of the second house of speech, right? Voice and speech. Oh, I can see the rebel yell there for sure. Oh, I love that. I love that a lot. So good. So we're going to move into the Pisces zone of sky. Yeah, that multitasking too of Pentacles, eeks, Sometimes I look at that as like at some point one of the balls is going to fall, right? And you got to you can't always juggle. You have to, like I can't juggle at all, but something should not be juggled here. Yeah, it's your turn to go first, my dear.
So we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. You're going to be experiencing the North Node Chiron conjunction in Aries in your second house. Obviously for this is about, initiating major changes and healing in regards to your values, addressing self-worth issues and finding the courage to manage your resources. This is the money that you make, your possessions, colorful stuff. I mean, I think about the stellium of planets in your 12th house, and this is like that time of the year where everything's kind of filtering out through your 12th house before you come into your new year. As a Pisces rising or Pisces sun. I think that this is about releasing the fears revolving around unforeseen events with money and like letting go of things that you cannot control, being more focused on taking action when it comes to your resources. Obviously, with like Mars and Venus and Pluto in the 12th house, there could be some self-sabotaging going on with money or with self-esteem, or there can be some interesting storylines also about endings and completions, which can rock your sense of security a little bit and make you doubt yourself. So if it's not about money, it can be just how you feel. I think that for you, it's very obvious with eclipses and transits that are going to go through there that this is a time where energy is shifting when it comes to your resources. You're becoming more self-reliant. And there's something really beautiful about the North Node transit through there where you're building something yourself, you're generating the money yourself, you're bringing it in on your own, and you're finding that even though it may be difficult, the path to being able to get there, it's extremely rewarding for you. Don't forget, and in the background, we have this impending Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in the third. And I think that many of you guys may make money in some ways or become more financially secure through writing, communication, sharing, teaching, traveling. There can be new studies also that are emerging that you're investing in. So it's not just about money that you possess, but the money that you have and how you spend it. And maybe some of you guys are traveling or you're taking a program. I know a lot of Pisces risings that are going to be purchasing astrology programs and things because they want to learn more as that conjunction is kind of brewing in the third house. For me, I think really it's also about, better managing your resources and maybe becoming aware of where, you may play an active role in some of the fluctuations and the changes that are going on with your money, and learning not to tie your self-value and your self-worth to numbers in a bank account or how many cars you have, in your driveway or what you possess. It's really feeling good, who you are, bare bones, no frills, because that's really what Aries is. The card that I got was the Knight of Wands. So this is such a great card. Get on your horse and go. That's how I see this card. I think that this is about taking action and really taking some risks, taking some chances in regards to your financial growth and financial gain. This is also about feeling inspired and making money quickly or making shifts quickly. We can do things fast when there's conjunctions in fire signs. And so with Mars and Venus in the 12th house, it just takes that shift of the mental state, right? It takes that shift of how you view things or what you're willing to let go of. And there could be rapid healing, I think, with North Node and Chiron in Aries. And you may be getting this through meditation, cord cutting ceremonies, psychic healing or hands-on healing, Reiki, past life regression, hypnosis, things that involve quantum healing that can help the body heal and help you heal also in terms of your security very quickly.
Hmm. Yeah, that's wonderful for all the Pisces I know. Okay, so my feeling is everything she said, absolutely yes. There's no doubt about it. And that chironic wound around values, self-worth, earnings, possessions, and resources has been around since 2018. And kind of you're coming to a point, I think, that's sort of shifting it so that as you lean into 2027, it may be no longer a major issue for you. And I kind of like that, there's this quality of the 12th house that has money stories attached to it. Like it can be losses, but it can also be like unforeseen losses. And it can also be a 12th house, a place where revenue can be found through foreign entities, foreign shores, foreigners, the word foreign or far off lands. And in that regard, pulling on that meaning too, maybe some of this rapid fire shift around the financial or resources woundedness can happen through people that you meet or engage with who are from another country or another land far away, or that maybe it involves you participating in a new opportunity that involves a foreign entity, foreign shore, or foreign place. All of those are possible. And Mercury's up in that stellium, right? And he rules that fourth house. And that can also be back to that thing about, the deeper healing you mentioned, like going deeper, like doing the soul work needed. And with Mercury up there in that stellium, he's the ruler of that house of the mother, the fourth house of your ancestral and familial stories. And I think for anyone who's a Pisces, it's time to do a little ancestral healing work, family constellation work, because some of this wound in the second house may actually come from way before you got here. It may be something that's deeper than what you think it is. It's not just I mismanaged my retirement fund or something. No, it's something that goes back to the ancestral or the familial. And by digging a little under the surface, you can actually swap it out pretty darn quickly. And I think also sometimes that 12th house, it's like not really always very easy to access. Like you mentioned, going to see a healer. And I'm wondering if there's an opportunity like to just choose to do that in this February timeframe where you can proactively I would prescribe, go see somebody who works at a very deep level, whether it's a quantum healing hypnosis, Akashic record reader, family constellation, or ancestral line healing type person, because I think that's definitely about an excavation of the fourth house with Mercury hanging out with the stellium. And you said so much that was just perfect. So I'm not sure I have much to add to it. I mean, it really just felt like it kind of stuck the landing on it. Maybe if you have a sibling, because the square to Jupiter in the third, a sibling challenge at all in your life, this could also open up a profound time to square that away and move into some healing speech, maybe Chiron in the second with that sibling situation. That could definitely happen there as well. Mostly, I think most Pisces that I know, and I do have quite a few in my life, have not done well in their resource management since 2018-19, when Chiron entered into their second. And this is definitely going to turn it around for most of you beautiful Pisceans out there who've struggled with that as well.
One other thing I would say also is, all these planets they're coming into a square with Jupiter, which is Pisces' traditional ruler. So you're gonna feel the pressure of being like, what's going on in the ethers, or like the vibes are off, like other things that's collectively like impacting you. So just be mindful of that you're gonna have to take more time to kind of clear behind the scenes. And the 12th house can also be like your processing, like payment processing and stuff. So some people may do well if they have businesses that they want to expand online, where they're willing to do business with people in other countries, or have new, processors and things that can take international payments of other currencies. Maybe you're starting to kind of feel like, I'm interested in taking cryptocurrency or Bitcoin as a payment. That might be really smart and in advance, intuitively, if you feel like the world is changing. I think about Jupiter and Uranus in your third, and if you are prepared to receive different kinds of currencies or payment, you may be doing very well for yourself next year.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
be spearheading that and initiating new forms of being able to receive resources as well.
Yeah. I agree. That is true. Very good for you guys, you Pisces, to go in that direction. Very well done. We did it. I can't believe we finished before 2 hours were up. You're okay. Guys, go to her channel. She's the queen of long form video. If you like to sit down with a coffee, a tea, a beer, a cup of wine, take her on a jog in your car when you're driving. Candace like goes really deep, but I love that about your channel. You have incredible depth and perseverance, and I really enjoy the work you do.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's like it's fun to hang out with another Aries moon. Not many people can keep up with us, you know.
I know, I know. Well, my partner's an Aries moon too. Us Aries moon, we've got this, we're on it. So I wish you a wonderful New Year's Eve because we're doing it on the 27th, enjoying your time and on New Year's Eve and having a great time. And I'm hopeful that we can do this again sometime in 2024. I got rave reviews from our collaborative video that we did a while back. And so I thought I just have to have you back. People really enjoyed you, Candace.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm sure we'll connect soon.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a wonderful day. Take care. I'm just going to sign us off.
Okay.
Okay, I'm in the sunlight. Ciao, ciao. Bye.
Bye.